WKRG TV is your local election headquarters. As Mobile, Alabama prepares to elect a new mayor, the candidates join us to answer your questions in this News 5 mayoral debate, moderated live by WKRG anchor and political reporter Peter Albrecht.
Good evening, everyone. Live from the WKRG studios in Mobile, I'm Peter Albrecht. Welcome to tonight's mayoral debate for the city of Mobile. For the next hour, the four candidates, Paul Prine, Spiro Cheriogotis, Connie Hudson, and Barbara Drummond will answer questions live. Some of the questions have been submitted directly by you, the viewers. Others have been developed by the News 5 team based on topics that you want to hear about. The candidates do not know the questions in advance. Each candidate will get just 30 seconds to answer most questions, so they'll need to be concise. There will be a section when candidates will answer specific questions for them submitted by their opponents. Candidates will get a 1-minute final statement at the end of our hour. The podium positions and the candidates' response orders have been chosen at random. Candidates, welcome, and let's get started. And our first question is about crime. That seems to be the top topic for many of our viewers. Our first question is, what's your specific strategy to reduce violent crime and gun violence in the city? And I'm going to be informal and call you by your first name. Spiro, you're first.
I think it's a great question. It's at the top of everyone's mind. We have to be focused on gun violence. It is truly the biggest issue we faced. I think we do that by focusing on individuals, not neighborhoods. We need to be sure that we are targeting the criminals who are committing the vast majority of the crime. But we can't just police our way out of this issue. We have to provide services so that hopefully less young people will be entering that life where guns are a part of it. So after school programs, summer programs, we have to teach leadership and conflict resolution.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
I think that this is probably the number one, but I look at it a little bit different. Other than ramping up the police department and getting more folks on the streets, there are so many guns that are on the street. We saw when permitless carry was passed by the legislature that we saw a lot of guns, but mine is also reaching them before they reach the penal system, creating safe places and safe things that our youngsters can do in Mobile. It's all a part of our lifestyle change of creating safe neighborhoods.
All right, thank you, Barbara. Connie, you're next.
As mayor, I'll build the #1 juvenile crime division in the state, and we will return to community-based policing, putting police officers back in neighborhoods, parks, and public spaces to build relationships and trust. And over the next 24 months, we'll hire and train 100 police officers to help us accomplish that.
All right, and thank you, Connie. And finally, Paul on this question.
Thank you. I would continue to do the intelligence-led policing that we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, and that we target offenders, violent offenders specifically. We also have to work with the schools to be able to intervene in the school system to get in front of these children, to teach them conflict resolution skills, and that was very effective for us. We arrested 400 gangbangers in the tenure that I was the chief of police. We would continue down that path to reduce crime.
All right, thank you. Here's our next question. Do we need more police officers in Mobile, or do we need to change the way they're deployed, or both? Paul, you're first on this one.
I would actually say both. We are approximately 100 officers short, and everybody gets a little worked up when they hear 100 officers, but the reality of it is a lot of those officers are needed for quality of life issues. Litter abatement, certainly dealing with the homeless issues that we have, the traffic enforcement, the lack of insurance, paper tags. Those things are really important. We always are going to be in a construct of changing how we police, and that will continue. It's been going on for 50 years. We will continue to do that.
All right, thank you. Connie?
I would agree both are needed. We will have to look at reorganization in the police department to see where the hot spots are, where the crime is happening, where we need to deploy the officers, and work from that. I think intelligence-led policing as well as community-based policing are very important, working hand in hand to address the crime in our community. And I think with the additional officers that we can certainly deploy and get into the neighborhoods and make that happen.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
I think both as well, but I think that we need to retool and rebrand the police department, get back to a time when every kid in this city wanted to be a police officer or even a firefighter. But I think that we also need to look and train our police officers not only to deal with cultural issues, but also to deal with mental health issues as well.
All right, and Spiro?
It has to be both. We need to continue to raise the number of officers in our area. That won't be fast, that will be difficult, but we need more officers on our streets, and we need our officers building those relationships, especially with businesses in our neighborhoods, so that our citizens feel comfortable contacting the police when they need help. We certainly need more police to answer those calls, but I do believe that with intelligence-led, offender-oriented policing, we can change the future of Mobile.
All right, here's our next question. We'll do just 15 seconds on this one. Do you support or oppose the police use of pre-dawn raids and no-knock warrants? Barbara, you're first.
I am against that. I think that that is not a good effort. We've seen that happen in the past, and we've seen what the results were. We've made victims and families that are very, very upset, and the city council's already did away with that through an ordinance, and so I support that ordinance.
Okay, Spiro?
I'm against no-knock warrants, but I think we can't limit our police when safety is an issue. But we need to make sure that we're only using search warrants and heavy-handed approaches like that when it's absolutely necessary and when we can decrease the potential risk to the officers involved and the homeowners.
Paul?
Yeah, so we have not done with the Mobile Police Department no-knock warrants in more than probably 20 years. I think that's a misconception. The truth is, I will not tie the hands of law enforcement officials in the city of Mobile to do their job when it comes to violent offenders.
All right, and Connie?
In concept, I would be opposed to it. However, I think that is why I would hire a police chief to help guide that decision-making, because only in certain circumstances would you ever consider using that.
All right, thank you very much. Our next question comes from a viewer, Donald S., and he asks, would you work to repeal the state's permitless carry law and ban guns in public places in the city? And what impact do you think that would have, if any, on gun violence in Mobile? Connie, you're first with this one.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Would you work to repeal the state's permitless carry law and ban guns in public places, and what impact might that have?
I think that we should look at repealing that law. I think that we have seen a lot of it tying the hands of our law enforcement officers and being able to recognize when there's guns that are illegal, and I think that the law has certainly been a problematic issue with gun violence and allowing that to happen.
All right, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, so I don't know that I would per se be the one leading the charge. I am an advocate of the Second Amendment. I am a citizen before I am a public official to begin with. That being said, it has been a hindrance to some extent, but we need to hold offenders accountable and not law-abiding citizens.
All right, Spiro?
I'm not sure that law will ever be repealed in our state, but there is no doubt that it's tied the hands of our officers when they're investigating gun violence and individuals in a car full of guns. They no longer can ask for that permit and identify whether those guns are stolen or not. So it's certainly hindered our police departments. I would look at laws like certain persons forbidden and raising the age. You can't buy a pistol before the age of 21. Why are you allowed to carry one? I think that's a law we can look at.
All right, and Barbara?
I am one of the ones up here who actually voted against permitless carry, and I have often said that that is one of the problems that we're seeing right now. But in addition to that, I would certainly be supportive of creating healthy places where guns can't go into. If we say, and we do this with no smoking and no vaping and so forth, we can do that with guns. So I would be in favor of that.
All right, thank you very much. Our next question comes from a viewer, Diamond T, and it's after the shooting we had in Sage Park this year. She asks, children need to be able to play in the city parks without fear. What's your plan specifically to make our parks safer? Spiro, you're first.
Well, it's certainly to ensure that we have proper surveillance equipment at these areas so people know that what they're doing there is being watched. It's also to have officers present, have regular, close patrols on our parks to make sure it's a place where families can gather and enjoy the beautiful outdoors here in our city.
All right, Connie, you're next.
This goes back to community-based policing. We have to have officers present in parks and public spaces, especially when there are activities going on. I think it gives people a sense of confidence in knowing that there's safety, there's someone that they can call on and rely on, and to deal with problems should they arise. And I think it's very, very important that we do that.
All right, thank you very much. And Barbara, you're next.
Well, I think that we do need to put more surveillance, but I think that we need to create parks that are healthy, and it would be a part of the lifestyle change. If I'm elected mayor, I want this to be a part of the community, a safe place where whole families will want to go to and enhance the entire vibrancy of the city.
All right, thank you. And Paul?
Yes, so when I started the Mobile Police Department, we had approximately 575 officers. We had officers assigned to each park in the city of Mobile. We would return to that once we hired an additional personnel to be able to fill the rank and file of the police department. That being said, surveillance is important, but what good is surveillance if the cameras are not working? I would ensure that the cameras are working and making sure that we have strategic initiative officers also working the parks, which is primarily what they do when it comes to intervention.
All right, thank you. We'll continue with the topic here of public safety. 5 years ago, the police precinct at Cathedral Square downtown was closed and moved down to Water Street, far from the Dauphin Street Entertainment District. Was that a mistake, and do police need to be more visible downtown? Paul, we begin with you.
I think it was a mistake. I was not a part of moving the central precinct to its current location on Water Street, but now it is not visible. It's out of sight, out of mind. When we had the mini precinct down on Dauphin Street, even civilians were able to go in, talk with police personnel, look at the museum that we had, and I believe people felt safer doing that. We would have to definitely look at doing and removing and pushing that precinct back to a centralized location downtown so it's accessible to all the public.
All right, Barbara?
I do. I don't think it was a mistake. I think we need one in both places because both of those areas are where tourists as well as residents, and our downtown is coming back to life. We need to go ahead and create, because right now we need safety in downtown, so people will feel safe to go downtown and enjoy the restaurants as well as all of the other things that are going on downtown, as well as at the convention center. So I think we need them in both places.
All right, thank you, Barbara. Spiro?
I certainly think we need a more visible police presence downtown. I like the idea of more officers walking foot patrol. I think that enables them to build those relationships with business owners, shop owners, so that, sometimes an owner won't make a call to 911, but they'll call Paul down the street if they know he's walking the beat. So I do think that goes into neighborhood policing and being a part of the community. I definitely want to see an increased police presence in downtown.
All right, thank you very much. Connie?
And I would explore the possibility of having it at both locations. I think that as far as downtown, we need that visibility if we're inviting visitors to come in, if we want our own residents to feel safe when they're down attending events. I think the more, the better as far as visibility downtown.
All right, thank you very much. This next question comes to us in part from a viewer, R. Vollmer, and it involves body cameras. In an effort for transparency, the city has spent millions of dollars on police body cameras, and yet the public who's paying for this has virtually no access to body cam video. Do you support greater public access to police body cam video, and under what circumstances? Barbara, you're first.
I do. In our caucus this year for the legislature, we actually had a bill to give the public more access to body cams. I think that we need that, but we need to be mindful because we want to put those offenders in jail as well. So those for investigative tools, but I certainly think that the public needs to see what comes out of those.
Paul?
Yeah, great question. So that needs to be changed at the State House through legislation. I was the police chief that actually changed the body-worn camera policy in lieu of the ordinance that was presented year before last to allow the family and their lawyer and their family to be able to see and view the body-worn camera within 7 days of an incident. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but when we build the trust and transparency with the public, I'm also entertaining the idea that we would use state police to be able to come in and investigate those critical incidences or death investigations.
All right, thank you, Paul. Connie?
I think that the body cam footage should be available to the public, and as long as it doesn't jeopardize an ongoing investigation, I think that would be the only factor that would delay that, but it ultimately should be released to the public.
All right, thank you. And finally, Spiro.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we protect investigations and court cases. That's the only way anyone is prosecuted. I wouldn't want to taint the jury pool by making that public too early, but I do like the idea of letting interested parties, family members, lawyers view that in a private setting in a way that's not released to the public, so you're not jeopardizing the judicial process.
All right, here's our next question. If elected, you will be Mobile's 5th mayor after Arthur Outlaw, Mike Dow, Sam Jones, and Sandy Stimpson. Who has been Mobile's best mayor to date and why? And Connie, you're first.
Oh my. I would have to say that each one of those gentlemen, when they served as mayor, certainly had a mark on the community in a different way. They had different leadership styles, and I have a lot of respect for each and every one of them. It would be very difficult in 30 seconds to stand here and tell you why one over another, but I think they each did brought a lot to the community, and we saw a lot of benefit from each one of their tenures.
All right, Spiro?
I think Mobile's been blessed with some truly visionary leaders. If I'm picking a favorite, I have to pick our current mayor, Sandy Stimpson. When you look at projects like the airport, that took vision. When you see work actually being done on a bridge that we've been waiting on for 40 years, that took vision. When you look at our arena, that's going to bring top-tier talent back to our city. Those are going to leave lasting marks on our city for generations to come, and you got to thank Sandy Stimpson for his vision on those projects.
Okay, Paul, you're next.
I would say Mike Dow done some really good things. They were never kind of materialized due to the kind of funding, certainly after he left office. Sandy Stimpson, by far, in my opinion, has been the best mayor for the last 30 years, specifically the first 8 years when it comes to a lot of the economic growth and development. The last 4 years, not as much. We've overextended ourselves financially in terms of a $300 million civic center, and that's going to prevent us from being able to hire the additional officers we need and to be able to do the things we need to address mental health and certainly homelessness.
Okay, and Barbara?
You know, looking at the mayor's office, it's almost like passing the torch. And I think that all of them have done an exceptional job to help us build Mobile to the great future that we now see in Mobile. But when I look at all of them, when we look at the number of jobs that we're bringing in from Airbus and also that was under Sam Jones, and also the Mayor Stimpson has done some great things. So it's a passing the torch, and it's time to pass it to a woman now.
All right, thank you very much. A little follow-up question here. This one's 15 seconds, and our viewer Rena C. sent this one in. What would you do differently from previous mayors? Spiro, you're first.
I would certainly focus on public transportation. I want people visiting Mobile to think of our public transportation system, how convenient it is, how much it helps tourism, and how much it helps get people to work. So I think that's something I would focus on that's different.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, great question. I would use a lot more of the public-private ship partnerships when it comes to building things in the city of Mobile, and take the excess funds that we would have financially overextended ourselves and take those and use that for mental health and certainly other issues in the community.
Okay, Barbara?
I think I would take it and incentivize neighborhoods, because all of our neighborhoods are not healthy. It's time for us to create opportunities for all. And I think it's time. Mobile has done a great job with economic development. It is now time for us to incentivize our neighborhoods and our citizens to make this city what it should be, what we know it can be.
All right, thank you very much. And Connie?
My style is very collaborative. I work well with organizations, nonprofits, groups within the community, and I listen well, and I'm concerned about the problems and the issues that are in neighborhoods.
All right, 15 seconds for this question as well. If elected, would you commit to having an executive staff that reflects the demographics of the city, and would you require them all to live in the city of Mobile? Paul, you're first.
Absolutely. Mobile is as diverse as its community, and the community itself should be a representation of City Hall. I definitely am involved in diversity. I believe in diversity wholeheartedly, and I also believe that that will make the difference in Mobile.
Spiro.
Absolutely. It's hard to represent a people that your administration doesn't represent. We have to see those voices being heard at the top levels in order to have that representation. And it's hard to represent an area that you don't live in. So I certainly would incentivize that in every way I can.
All right, Connie?
I would say yes and yes. I think it's important to have a lot of different perspectives at the table, and I think that, and I think it's important for the leadership staff to have a vested interest in the community.
Thank you. And Barbara?
As a native of Mobile and one who truly loves this city, I certainly think that we need to have an executive staff that not only lives in Mobile, but embrace the diversity that is in Mobile. If you look at my campaign, it is diversified. So I would be happy to do that.
All right. Next question has to do with annexation. Do you favor allowing neighborhoods just outside of the city to vote on annexing into Mobile? And if so, should the racial makeup of those areas be taken into account? Should the city aggressively solicit neighborhoods to consider annexation? Again, 30 seconds for this one. Barbara, you're first.
I am an annexation proponent, and I certainly think that we do need to annex for the future and keep Mobile growing to the great city that we know it should be, but it should not be based on race or politics. It should be based on what is in the best interest of the city of Mobile.
Thank you very much. Connie?
And I would agree with that. I think that any neighborhood group, any section of the unincorporated area that is interested in joining the city should be given that opportunity. And I think as far as racial makeup, I think that is always a part of what we deal with. But I think we can work through that. The city council and mayor's office have shown that is certainly possible to come up with a plan that everybody can get on board with.
Thank you. Spiro?
We want people living in Mobile, so if people want to voluntarily annex themselves into the city, I certainly would encourage that. We need to do what's best for the city in order to protect our city as it grows, and I expect it to grow. We need to make sure that we are implementing our zoning regulations in areas so that we don't develop in a way that doesn't fit the character of our city. So those are things that we need to weigh, but certainly if you want to be a member of Mobile's future, I'm for you.
All right, and Paul?
We cannot annex our way into prosperity. I believe in annexation only if the community itself petitions the government to do it. The government should not be petitioning the neighborhoods, in my opinion. If we're truly going to be successful, we have to be business friendly and family friendly, and that's two of the things that we have neglected really in many regards. I would just simply say this: I am all for annexation, but it also has to be done according to federal laws, and that we're not gerrymandering and changing the voter population of any one community.
All right, following up on that subject, annexation put a temporary halt to the city's declining population, but what steps need to be taken to keep people from moving from Mobile across the bay or into suburban areas like Sims or Saraland? Connie, you're first.
I think the perception, and perception is reality, that we are perceived as having high crime, which we do, and youth gun violence, a substandard education system, quality of life in general. I think these are the things that we have to focus on and work on to improve in our community, to change that perception, to bring young families back, and to be help us grow our economy. I think that until we can do that we're going to continue to decline in population.
All right, Barbara, your thoughts?
I think that we need to focus more on ourselves. I started that a moment ago. And if you want people to stay here, we've got to give them options for families to want to be here. So I'm going back to my lifestyle change. We need to build neighborhoods, and I'm big on Mobile's history. Mobile is a city that has a lot of history. We need to make it work for us so that we would have families who want to stay here, and young people who say the opportunities are here. That's what we need to work on.
All right, thank you very much. Paul?
We have to fix, Peter, what is broken. And simply said, that is, we have to fix the crime. People have to be able to live, work, and feel like that they're safe living in their community. We also have to work with the school systems, because many times people don't think the schools is fulfilling that academic level for the school kids. They're moving over to Baldwin County. But when I say that, we also have to understand there are prominent leaders here in Mobile, such as those that run the chamber, that live over there as well. We have to do a community makeover, a community change, and shake things up for people to invest and live in Mobile.
And Spiro?
To put it simply, we have to build a city that people want to be a part of. We have to improve entertainment, public transportation. We need to address issues like crime and litter and, blight in our neighborhoods. But the truth is, people can want to move to Mobile all they want. If they can't afford a home in our city, they won't be moving here. So we need to address our housing stock issues. We need to get back to building homes that Mobile families can actually afford.
All right. Talk about city finances a little bit. In the last 15 years, the city has benefited from BP oil spill money and also federal COVID dollars. That's gone away. President Trump is proposing getting rid of community development block grants. How will the city replace that revenue and function without that money? And Spiro, you're first.
Well, one hope I have is by increasing revenue. You can't spend money you don't have, especially with the city. We're not the federal government. So increasing revenue streams, like by building a state-of-the-art arena with new acts that people will want to come visit, by increasing tourism. We've got the train that's about to be running. We have a new airport that's well on its way. And I hope by adding some trolleys to our city, making Mobile a more walkable enjoyable community.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
Well, you look at the penny that the city of Mobile enacted some time ago, it's creating about $65 million. That is given, when you look at Moody's Analytical, it's given Mobile a AA stable rating. We've got a good rating, and they said our future looks good, mostly because of the penny and all of the economic opportunities that we have here, from the airport to also the state of Alabama port. That is going to be a great generator for us.
All right, thank you very much. Paul, you're next.
So the question is, how do we backfill the money that's going to stop coming into the coffers due to the things that you asked? And really the two immediate things that I would do, or three things rather, is one, I would audit the books to find out where the frivolous and wasteful spending is at. The second thing that I would do is cut the mayor's staff in half back to where it was at before the last 4.5 years. And then we would look at the transportation system. We lost $8.5 million last year on the transportation system. That's $8 million that we can kind of put back into the coffers to fill the need of the loss that we're going to have.
All right, and Connie?
I think that, first of all, we're going to have to look at some belt tightening. I think the county has had to do that. I think with the city finances that will be necessary. And I think that getting into office, being able to evaluate the different offices and the jobs and responsibilities and make some changes there, and that will help to provide some additional funding, I believe, and just look at the services in general, because I think there's money to be saved.
All right, thank you very much, Connie. We're going to take a short break right now. When we return, candidates will answer specific questions submitted by their opponents. We'll be right back.
WKRG TV is your local election headquarters. Now, the News 5 Mobile, Alabama mayoral debate continues live.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of our mayoral debate. Right now, questions for individual candidates that were submitted by their opponents. Each candidate will answer 3 questions, one from each opponent, and you will have 30 seconds for your responses. Up first, Paul Prine. Former U.S. Attorney Kenyon Brown conducted an investigation into several use of force incidents under your leadership. In his report, he cited witnesses who said once during a police roll call, you made the comment, "F the public." How do you plan to build public trust after making such a remark?
Yeah, well, that's a very disingenuous question because, as you know, Peter, you and the media actually debunked the Kenyon Brown report. The Kenyon Brown report was certainly a hit job by the current administration to run me out of office. So now that we know that, let's talk about commitment very quick. Shot in the line of duty 3 times, 27 years on the beat myself, and continue to work for the city of Mobile for another 24 years. That's commitment.
All right, thank you, Paul. This one's for Connie. You spearheaded the Mobile County Soccer Complex, the price of which has ballooned due to needed follow-up work. What mistakes were made in that process, and how, as mayor, would you prevent a similar situation with ongoing future projects?
Well, I think the person who submitted that doesn't understand the difference between cost overruns and scope, changing of scope. And this is a multi-phase project that has many funding levels attached to each phase. And so we have continued to move from one phase to the next. So there's no cost overruns. We are just continuing the progress on the complex until we can get it complete.
All right, thank you, Connie. Next question is for Spiro. You've been endorsed by the current mayor and those in his administration. What's your opinion about the Kenyon Brown report that was critical of police tactics and used to terminate Paul Prine as chief of police?
I've read that report. I do think there were some factual inaccuracies, but I think there was some truth in there too. I think we need to look at how we are performing as a police department and ensure that we're providing the best service to the citizens. To be sure that we are doing everything in our power to not just arrest criminals, but to prevent crime. So I certainly think we need to take a look at our tactics, and we need to install some new tools and techniques, especially technologies, so that we can properly prosecute crime in our city.
All right, thank you, Spiro. This one's for Barbara. Do you believe that crime is the #1 issue facing Mobile? If yes, how do you explain that you voted against or did not vote on most, if not all, of the crime bills submitted in the legislature so far this year?
I do believe crime is the number one issue, and I voted against those because it did not have accountability even from both sides. There's accountability for the citizens, and there is accountability for the police department, and that is what drove our votes. We need to have accountability for lives that are lost, even if it's a police officer. We've got good police officers, but unfortunately, we have some that are taking it to another limit. So yes.
All right, thank you, Barbara. Going back to you, Barbara, for your second question. You were a senior staffer in the Sam Jones administration. When he left office, the city was in serious financial hardship. What will you do differently to ensure the city's financial stability?
Well, see, I differ with you on that question because it was not in serious hardship. Actually, it was that administration that created the penny that had $65 million in that administration. It was that administration that brought in Airbus. It was that administration that brought in Austell, ThyssenKrupp. So it was the administration that actually created the prosperity that we now see in the city of Mobile.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara. This question is for Spiro. Spiro, you said you won't be tied to the current administration, but the mayor has endorsed you. His former communications director is running your campaign. How would your administration differ and be independent from the leadership of the last 11 plus years?
You know, I'm thankful for the excitement that we've generated in this campaign. Only 25% of our donors also gave to Sandy Stimpson. I don't know that I said I wouldn't be tied to him. I would welcome the mayor's input on difficult decisions, but in the end, it's my decision. I've disagreed with the mayor publicly in the past. I'm not afraid to stand up for what's right. You know, we can negotiate and on issues, but you can't compromise your principles. And I'm nobody's puppet. I will always be the decision maker as mayor.
All right, thank you, Spiro. Next question is for Connie. As county commissioner, you refused funding requests from the district attorney's office, resulting in a lawsuit that was lost at the Supreme Court level. Please explain why you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on attorneys to avoid paying that money to the DA's office.
The district attorney's office is a state agency and the responsibility of the state. The county commission demanded that the state pay for its obligation. It cut the district attorney's office 30% and then tried to saddle the county commission with filling that gap. We were demanding that the state take care of their responsibility and put that money back into the district attorney's office. That was what that was about.
All right, thank you, Connie. Paul, here's your second question from one of your opponents. As chief of police of Mobile, you lived in Saraland and reneged on a promise made to the city council during the confirmation process that you would move to Mobile. If, as chief, you refused to live in Mobile, refused to commit to Mobile, why should you be elected mayor of Mobile?
Well, it's a great question, and thank you, but I never made a promise. What I did was acknowledge openly that I had no problem moving to Mobile, but because of the improprieties and the ethical issues with the current administration, I refused to uproot my family and move. That being said, I'd like to go back to the Kenyon Brown report just quickly with Mr. Spiro, that it's disingenuous that he would say that there's some truth in it when Kenyon Brown specifically made all these allegations only to say that every single one of these officers have been cleared of any wrongdoing. I think that's disingenuous. The Mobile Police Department has not changed one policy as a result of the Brown report.
Okay, we're going back to you, Paul, for your third question. Given that a strong working relationship between the mayor and the city council is crucial for effective governing, how, if elected, would you establish good working relationships with council members named in your ongoing lawsuit against the city who you accuse of making false and slanderous statements?
Yeah, that's right. And so understanding that we are all consummate professionals, elected officials, if I become the mayor. That being said, the council owes their allegiance to the people they serve, not to the mayor. The mayor, vice versa. We can build consensus. I've known for building consensus and getting things done. However, I'm a different candidate in that I will refuse to be bought. I refuse to be intimidated, and people are going to, for once, do what they say they're going to do if they become a political leader and work with me.
All right, thank you, Paul. Next question is for Connie. You've pledged to return Mobile Police to community-based policing. How would your strategic initiatives differ from those of former Chief Paul Prine? Please be specific.
Well, my plan is to marry community-based policing with intelligence-led policing. I think that that should be an integrated effort. And I ask people everywhere I go, how often do you see police officers and cruisers moving through your neighborhood and patrolling? And not hardly ever anybody raises their hand. So it's not been happening for a very long time, and we need to get back to that type of policing in our community.
Thank you, Connie. Barbara, this one's for you. Should you be elected mayor, concerns have been voiced that city council districts in West Mobile may not receive the same attention and resources as those on the east side of I-65. How will you ensure that the needs of constituents of West Mobile are addressed and that no district or area of the city is ignored?
Well, West Mobile is actually the community that I use for East Mobile to tell them how they can be. I will be fair to all. All opportunities will be across the board, but we have to admit that our downtown, our older parts of the city is crumbling and needs a little bit more special attention. But I will always pay attention to the entire city. That's what this government is all about, that we are elected nonpartisan and we are elected to represent the entire city, not just one segment. But if there's a problem downtown, I will address both.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara. Spiro, this is for you. You have professional experience as a prosecutor and a judge, but lack executive or legislative experience. The mayor's role often requires navigating conflict between council members, the county commission, state leadership, and others. Can you share a time when you successfully built consensus across these types of lines, and what was the outcome?
You know, I was lucky enough to be the first judge in our state to use Anaya's law, to hold a violent potential repeat offender in jail without bond. That was a piece of legislation that I talked to state legislators about. It's a bill that I championed, and after using that for the first time in our state, there was a lot of discordance between the judges, and so I was asked to speak on that law at our judicial conferences, and we were able to build consensus on a best practices, best way forward on how that law should be implemented.
All right, well, thank you very much, candidates, for answering those questions asked by your opponents. We'll return now to our regular questions. And first, we're going to talk about blight, which is often cited for increasing crime and decreasing property values in our city. What can be done with neglected or abandoned properties, commercial and residential? And would you consider an increased property tax for owners who simply sit on properties and watch them rot? Spiro, you're first.
You know, I think the people would have to vote on any kind of property tax increase, and if they want to do that, I certainly would not stand in their way. But I think there are other things we can do, like enforcing ordinances that are on the books now. We have facade ordinances specifically for downtown that I see violated every single day. There can be vacant buildings, but they can't be creating dangerous situations in our downtown. So we need to make sure that our vacant buildings have fire protection. So what happened at Hoffman Furniture doesn't happen again. That would be by creating new ordinances and enforcing the ones we have now.
Thank you. Connie?
Blight can be addressed by code enforcement. We have to require property owners to meet minimum safety standards or pay penalties. And we need to start quiet title action on vacant, dilapidated, tax delinquent properties, and make sure that we can get marketable title, work with developers to renovate and to redevelop those properties into commercial and residential property that can be an asset to the community.
Thank you, Connie. Paul?
I think you've heard the best case scenarios. We have to enforce the city ordinances. We're probably going to have to hire more municipal code enforcement officers to get that job done. The reality of it is we can also use the nuisance abatement process to be able to kind of go in and take some of these homes. But that should be a last resort after we have tried everything we can to incentivize or help some of the current owners bring some of these properties up to code, up to standard, and maybe get them back into the market.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
I think that we can turn blight into opportunities for our neighborhoods and turn it around so that we can incentivize small private business owners to go back into those communities and renovate those homes. I am one who actually passed a piece of legislation to perhaps expedite the process so that city can go in and begin administering all of the various codes. I'll continue to do that, but I think that we can create small business owner by incentivizing them to go back into the community and getting rid of all of the bureaucracy in the permitting process.
All right, thank you very much. A half century after a lot of cities have eliminated litter, Mobile's roads, parks, and public places are still filled with trash. How would you attack the city's litter problem, and how aggressive would you be? Paul, you're first.
Gets back to having enough officers on the front line to be able to address the litter issue, certainly out there in the field. I think we also need to look at maybe the cost effectiveness of having the street sweepers working in the middle of the night, cleaning up the streets of Mobile. If we're going to hire employees to keep the city clean, then I think we need to look at that and figure out how do we find a way to fund that process.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
I think that, in this legislative session, I passed a bill to do away with all of the overage of trash that is put onto our streets, and also with our scrap tire laws. I would continue those efforts, but I think partnerships with private as well as other public entities can help us clean up our neighborhoods and work with those citizen action groups that we have throughout the city to keep our streets clean.
All right, thank you. Connie?
I think education, community engagement, and enforcement. During the time I've been on the county commission, I started a program called Love Your Community. It started in District 2, got so popular it spread throughout the county. It engages citizens to be a part of the process, and at the same time to earn funding for beautification projects in the community. It's been wildly successful. I think engagement works. You just have to structure it the right way.
All right, thank you very much. Spiro?
Certainly, I think education and street sweepers are a part of it, but one tool I used as a judge that I think would work here is community service. We have a lot of unpaid fines in the city, frankly, with people who can't afford to pay those fines. If there's been some wrong to the community, let's fix that with a little community service. Let's see those litter pickup crews again. And I'll tell you, on the education side, if you're on the side of the road with a little grabber picking up litter, you might think twice before you throw that bag of McDonald's out again. So I think getting the community involved, community cleanup projects, and community service.
All right, thank you. Here's our next question. The public has been largely unaware that Mobile mayors and city council members who serve more than 12 years get a pension that, unlike police and fire and other state employees, they do not pay into. Do you approve, and would you work with the legislature to modify or end this practice? Barbara, you're first.
Well, since I'm in the legislature, I would definitely work with them, but I think that when you look at cities and the council members and the mayors, they're on the ground, they're on the front line. I really think that they earn those pensions because that's a lot of work. It's 24/7. Mobile wouldn't be the great city that it is if we have not had such good leadership to turn everything around. I remember when downtown was blighted, and now we see a great future. So I would work with the legislature, but I am in favor of them keeping their pensions.
All right, Paul?
I would actively work with the state legislators to repeal it, get rid of it. And certainly I know there's a grandfather process for those that are already on the process, but I do not think elected officials working part-time, in my opinion, especially if they're not contributing to the state pension fund as a part of their portion of payment, to even get a retirement. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absurd, and it's been going on probably just over 35 years, and I would do everything I can to repeal it.
All right, Spiro?
I think currently the pension plans being paid out by the city cost the taxpayers about, I think it's less than $200,000 a year. That's not nothing, but when leaders have spent 12 years serving this city, I don't think there's any such thing as a part-time job in the city. I see city councilmen answering their phones at all times of day. I do think that, a pension can be a good reward for that type of work and labor. I'd also be interested in looking at city, our pension plan being engaged in the RSA system. I've paid about 6 years into that system, so I wouldn't mind benefiting from that.
All right, and Connie?
If I understand it, the question was about contributing to the pension, not having the pension itself. I don't have any problems with contributing to a pension. I think that's done everywhere. As a county commissioner, I contribute to the pension that I'll be receiving. But it being a full-time job, I think that, like any other, I think that it is a valid pension. It is a valid point to have a pension for the mayor's office.
All right, thank you. Next question is about the I-10 bridge. What do you see as the mayor's role in getting this bridge and Bayway project built, and how big of a priority will it be for you? Connie, you're first.
Well, I have worked very closely with the MPO. The mayor, in fact, was the chairman of that organization, and I was vice chair during the time that we were working with the Baldwin County MPO and trying to get to a point where we could agree on the final plan. And so I am very familiar with that process, have worked on it, will continue to work on it, have already established relationships, not only on our side of the bay, but across the bay as well.
Thank you. Spiro.
I think the bridge is vital for the port to realize its full potential. I think it's something that has to be done. I think as a mayor, you need to make sure that your citizens still have toll-free options. I do believe that bridge will have a toll. We got to make sure we keep our toll-free options open for the citizens. And we also need to make sure that we have a vision for how that's going to change traffic in our city. Once that bridge is completed, that's going to delete the overpass or the off-ramp from onto Water Street. How can we re-envision Water Street in a way that truly activates our riverfront?
All right, Barbara.
I think the bridge is very vital to Mobile's future economic value. We have a lot of money that is just sitting right now on the interstate. So I think it's vital for us. It would be the #1 priority in my administration. And I, like the commissioner, I've been working with all of the entities to make sure that we get proper funding, so that the mayor would be an advocate to continue working with the MPO as well as state as well as federal leaders to make sure that that becomes a reality.
All right, Paul.
The bridge has to get done. It should have been done 10 years ago. I would certainly be a champion and a cheerleader of all those involved to get rid of the bureaucracy and the red tape to ensure that we get it done. It has to get done, and it has to get done quickly. I would also work with our federal legislators to ensure that we're getting more funding from the federal government. I think we're somewhere between 30 and 40% funding on a U.S. highway, and I believe we should probably have another 30 to 40% funding from the federal government.
All right, next one, 15 seconds. What do you think about plans for the new Civic Center, and does it meet the needs of the community? Spiro, you're first.
I love the new arena, the new Civic Center. I think it's going to be state of the art, and it's going to allow us to attract the best acts in the country to Mobile for the first time in a very long time, since Led Zeppelin was touring. I don't think it meets all the needs of our community. I think we need to look at building a new theater so our citizens and our children have a place to perform.
Got to cut you off, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. So my position on the Civic Center is, while we needed it and it is state of the art, I would argue that we've overextended ourselves for the next 20 years. We passed a budget to build a $300 million facility without earmarking where the money was going to come before we passed the law.
Connie, your thoughts?
I think at this point, the question is moot whether we need it or not. We are contractually obligated to build that Civic Center arena, and as mayor, I will be the #1 cheerleader. Whether I would have done it differently or not is a point aside, but I will be the #1 cheerleader.
All right, Barbara?
I think that that's a far-gone conclusion. It will be a valued asset for the city of Mobile, and I certainly will champion it. I wish that we had a theater because, again, for the lifestyle change, we need vibrant arts in this community, and I think that was rather short-sighted. So in addition to building it, I want to make sure that we look to the future, building a theater so that we can embrace the arts.
Okay, next question is about Africa Town. The Heritage House is open. The Welcome Center is being built. What else, if anything, should be done to promote Africa Town and the story of the Clotilda as a tourism draw? Paul, you're first.
Communication is key to be able to enrich and educate every Mobilian on Mobile's rich cultural diversity. That being said, we also need to fund Africa Town. That's going to be hard because of the foregone conclusion of having built the Civic Center. But the reality of it is, you got to have money. It needs to be a state-of-the-art facility so people from not only Mobile, the state, but certainly the country can come and participate.
Spiro, your thoughts?
Civil rights tourism is the #1 tourism draw in the state of Alabama. I'm excited about what's happening in Africa Town. We need to make sure we can do everything in our power to lift up that city, to highlight the beauty of that city, that area of our city. And, you know, I look at public transportation as a way to get more people there so that they can enjoy the rich cultural heritage that exists in Africa Town.
Connie, your thoughts?
Africa Town has tremendous potential, is a UNESCO site, and I think that there's so much opportunity there working with the neighborhoods, the organizations that within that community to do revitalization work. I look forward to that. That is a wonderful challenge to take on, to work with that community, to see what we can do to help it thrive economically and to help with housing in that community as well, redevelopment.
Barbara?
I think the city needs to really take on Africatown as a priority for tourism. When you look at the Mecca, we've seen that we know where the ship is. We cannot excavate it because it will come apart. But we need to build an international state-of-the-art museum on the Happy Hill site so that people from all over the world will come into our city. And this will be a tourism mecca. It will create more money for the city of Mobile. So we need to make it a priority.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to answer this one in 10 seconds. The Maritime Museum, what's the future of this facility? Barbara, you're first.
I use the Maritime Museum all the time, and I think it's a wonderful facility. I think it's underutilized. And if I become mayor, I'm going to make sure that we do a lot more to promote it because it's part of my lifestyle change.
All right, Connie?
Well, I'm looking forward to the Jimmy Buffett exhibit, and I think that there's a lot of promise there. We just need to show attention to it. We need to make sure that we are marketing it correctly, and I think that the community is ready to see something happen there.
Paul, 10 seconds.
Yeah, so the reality is it's an $80 million bust, and it does have a lot of potential. We can continue to work on it, but we also have to find a way to integrate it, not only with the cruise terminal, but certainly with the port development as we build it out.
All right, and Spiro.
I'm excited about the new investments there. It's a beautiful building. I think it suffers from the same thing our riverfront does everywhere, and that's that you have a fear of death while crossing Water Street. We have to find a real walkable, workable solution for Water Street.
All right, thank you very much. All right, that is it for our questions. Now the candidates will have a chance to make their closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to do so. The order was established by draw before we began tonight. Barbara Drummond, you are first.
I am Representative Barbara Drummond, and I want to be your mayor because I see such a great future for Mobile. I was born and raised here. I did not move here. I don't see darkness. I see nothing but a bright future for Mobile and opportunities for everybody in this city. One of the things that is very close to my heart, I want young people to know that they can bring their families back into this community. And when they talk about opportunities, they say that they've got opportunities for a crime-free community, also opportunities for a good job, and opportunities to have options that they can take their family to. And so that they will know that this is a great city that is truly on the move. I hope everybody will vote for Team Drummond on August the 26th.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara. Next up is Spiro.
Mobile has been the city of perpetual potential long enough. Reaching our full potential is truly within our grasp. We've talked a lot about the issues that Mobile is experiencing tonight. It's a big city. It's always going to have its issues, and I'm all in on finding solutions to those issues, but I don't want the citizens of Mobile to lose sight of everything we have to be optimistic about in our city. We continue to attract big industry. We are getting a new arena, a new airport that will revolutionize business in downtown Mobile and throughout the city. We have so many things to look forward to, but just getting those projects done is not enough. We have to be looking forward to what's next for our city. We have to look forward to what's next for developing our waterfront. We have to look forward to building that theater so that our children and our citizens have a place to perform. We have to look forward to what we're going to do with Mobile Regional Airport once air travel moves to downtown. When it comes to Mobile reaching its full potential, I'm all in. And on August 26th, I'm asking you to be all in with me.
All right, thank you so much, Spiro. Paul, you're next.
I definitely agree with all of Mobile that experience truly does matter. My resume speaks for itself. My experience is evident in the community. As the police chief, I ran a 600-employee organization with a $75 million a year budget. We reduced crime some 38-year low, which was phenomenal, and we certainly reduced homicides in that period of time as the chief, 65%, and we did that under budget. The reality is I'm not using talking points tonight paid for by political consultants with a lot of money. I say what I mean, and I absolutely mean everything that I say. The reality of it is I can't be bought, and Mobile knows that. I can't be intimidated, Mobile knows that. The reality is we need to change old Mobile politics. My position is to return the government back to the people. I've been all in for 30 years, and I'm asking the people with all humility, Paul Prine, August the 26th. Hope to earn your vote.
All right, thank you very much. And Connie, your 1 minute closing statement.
This is a critical time for the future of our city, and it boils down to leadership. The type of leadership, experienced, motivated, a passionate leadership. And my style of leadership sets high standards. It demands accountability. It listens and cares about the concerns of citizens. And it values teamwork and customer service. And it knows how to get things done. I am the only candidate who has served in local government. I have 23 years of experience. I am the only candidate who has dealt with global industries and recruiting those to Mobile. I was the lead negotiator with Airbus. My name is the signature on that contract that brought Airbus to Mobile. And I am the only candidate who has had experience in dealing with multi-million-dollar capital projects and manage those from conception to completion. I know how to get the job done.
All right, thank you very much to all of our candidates, and thanks to you at home for watching. If you'd like to hear more from the candidates, you can find one-on-one interviews that I did with each of them by downloading the WKRG Plus app on your smart TV. Again, thank you so much for watching tonight. Remember, Election Day is August 26th.
The News 5 Mobile, Alabama mayoral debate has been a presentation of WKRG TV, your local election headquarters.